Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you'd give them everything? Your heart, your dreams, your future? That was me. My name is Emma, and this is the story of how one terrible day shattered my perfect life, and how I found myself again in the most unexpected way. It started on a beautiful Wednesday morning in New York City, the kind of morning where the sunshine streams through your windows and makes you believe that good things are just around the corner. I was in my small apartment in Brooklyn, cooking a special meal. The smell of my mom's famous pasta sauce filled the kitchen, that rich, garlicky aroma that always meant home and happiness. Today was special. It marked 1 year since I first sketched out my big idea, a budgeting app that could help people manage their money better. And now, thanks to my fiancé David, that dream was almost real. He'd invested $50,000 into my project. He said he believed in me, and I had no reason to doubt him. My phone buzzed on the counter. It was David. Thinking of you. Can't wait to see you tonight. My heart warmed. David was everything I'd ever wanted. Handsome, successful, and he believed in my vision. Our wedding was just 3 months away, and I felt like the luckiest woman alive. I was finishing the pasta when my apartment door swung open. My twin sister, Faith, walked in, dropping shopping bags everywhere with a dramatic sigh. "Finally," she said, fanning herself. "The traffic was absolutely horrible. I thought I'd die in that cab." Faith looked exactly like me, but that's where the similarities ended. While I preferred simple jeans and comfortable clothes, Faith was always dressed to impress. Today she wore a bright red dress that screamed for attention. "Shopping again?" I asked, wiping my hands on my apron. "Of course," Faith said, kicking off her expensive heels. She flopped onto my couch. "A girl has to look good. You should try it sometime. All you do is work on that app." I laughed. "This app is going to make us rich, Faith. You'll see. Then you can buy all the red dresses in New York." Faith smiled, but something in her eyes looked tired. "I hope so. I'm sick of being broke. Speaking of which, can you lend me some money? Just a little to hold me over." My smile faded. This was becoming a pattern. "Faith, I gave you money last week." "I know, but things are expensive. Please, just $200. I sighed. I could never say no to my sister. I went to my purse and pulled out the cash. "This is the last time for a while, okay? I need to save." "You're the best," Faith said, tucking the money into her designer handbag. "So what's all this cooking for?" "It's our anniversary," I said, my happiness returning. 1 year since I started planning the app. "I'm surprising David with lunch at his office." Faith raised a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. "A surprise at his office? Aren't you worried about what you might find?" "What are you talking about?" I asked, confused. "Oh, nothing," Faith said, waving her hand dismissively. "It's just men. You can't trust them completely, especially successful ones. They always have secrets." I frowned. I didn't like when Faith talked like this. It made love sound like a business deal, not a matter of the heart. David's not like that. He loves me. "If you say so," Faith said, picking up a magazine. "I just think you're too trusting. You have to be smart. You have to protect yourself." I shook my head, pushing away the small cloud of doubt my sister had created. Faith was just being cynical. She didn't understand the love David and I shared. Ours was real. It was built on trust. "Well, I trust him," I said firmly. "And he's going to love this lunch." I carefully packed everything into a beautiful basket: the pasta, garlic bread, a bottle of sparkling juice, and a slice of homemade chocolate cake for dessert. "I'm heading out," I called to Faith. "All right," she replied. "Don't say I didn't warn you." I ignored her. I picked up the basket, my heart light with excitement. I imagined David's face when I walked into his office. He would be so surprised and happy. The journey to his Manhattan office was slow. New York traffic was its usual nightmare. Yellow cabs honking, delivery trucks blocking lanes, tourists everywhere. I didn't mind. I was lost in happy thoughts about our wedding, about the home we'd build together, about our future children. When I finally arrived at the tall glass building where David worked, I felt a flutter of excitement. The receptionist in the lobby smiled at me. "Good afternoon, Mrs. David-to-be," the young woman said cheerfully. I was a frequent visitor. "Is he in?" I asked, holding the basket tighter. Yes, but his assistant just stepped out. You can go right in. Thank you, I said, my smile widening. This would be a complete surprise. I walked down the quiet hallway, my footsteps echoing softly on the polished floor. David's office door was slightly open. I could hear soft sounds from inside, a quiet laugh, a murmur. He must be on the phone, I thought. I pushed the door open gently, a bright smile on my face, ready to say surprise. But the word died in my throat. David was not on the phone. He was standing by his desk, and he wasn't alone. His assistant, a young woman I'd always been polite to, was in his arms. His hands were on her waist and he was kissing her. Deeply, passionately. Her blouse was unbuttoned. For a moment my mind went blank. The scene didn't make sense. It was like watching a movie, something that happened to other people, not to me. The sounds of the city outside, the smell of pasta in my basket, my own heartbeat. Everything faded into a dull, roaring silence. Then the basket slipped from my numb fingers. It hit the floor with a loud crash. The containers broke, spilling pasta and sauce across the pristine floor. The juice bled into the food, looking like a terrible wound. The sound broke the spell. David and his assistant sprang apart, their faces full of shock and guilt. "Emma!" David exclaimed, his eyes wide. I didn't say a word. I couldn't. I just stared at the mess on the floor. The broken pieces of my perfect lunch, the symbol of my shattered dreams. Then I looked at David. At the man I was supposed to marry. I saw guilt in his eyes, yes, but I also saw panic. Not the panic of a man who'd broken his lover's heart, but the panic of a man who'd been caught. I turned and ran. I ran down the hallway, past the confused receptionist, out of the building, and into the harsh afternoon sunlight. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to get away. The beautiful, hopeful morning had turned into the ugliest day of my life. The taxi ride home was a blur. I stared out the window but didn't see anything. I only saw that image replaying in my mind, David kissing her, holding her. Each time felt like a fresh stab to my heart. When I stumbled through my apartment door, Faith was still on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up, and her expression changed when she saw my tear-streaked face. "What happened?" she asked, sitting up. "Did you fight?" I couldn't speak. The words were trapped behind a sob. I collapsed onto the couch and everything came pouring out. The empty desk, the open door, the kiss, the broken basket. Faith listened, then put her arm around me. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe he'd do that." I clung to my sister. Faith was all the family I had left since our parents died. We'd always been there for each other. "I told you not to trust him," Faith said softly. "Men are all the same. They only think about themselves." I pulled back, wiping my eyes. "What am I going to do? Our wedding is in 3 months." "You're not marrying that cheater," Faith said firmly. "You deserve better." I nodded, even though my heart felt like it was breaking into pieces. But then another thought hit me. What about the money? David's investment? Faith's expression sharpened. "What about it? I'll have to give it back, won't I?" Faith was silent for a moment. "Why should you? He betrayed you. He broke your heart. The least he can do is let you keep the money. Think of it as payment for your pain." I stared at my sister, shocked. "I can't do that, Faith. It's his money. What about what he did? Was that right?" Faith argued. "He made a fool of you. Are you just going to let him walk away with no consequences? You have to be strong." Her words swirled in my confused mind. Part of me knew keeping the money was wrong. But another part, the hurt, angry part, felt a spark of satisfaction at making David pay. "The app is still good," Faith continued. "You can still launch it. Use his money to make yourself successful. That'll be the best revenge." The idea was tempting. I poured my heart into that app. Giving it all up because of David's betrayal felt devastating. "I don't know," I said, trembling. "Just rest," Faith said, her tone softening. "Don't decide anything now." That evening the doorbell rang. My heart jumped. I knew it was David. Faith answered. I could hear their voices, tense and low. "She doesn't want to see you," Faith said coldly. "Please, I need to explain," David pleaded. Taking a deep breath, I walked to the door. David looked miserable, wrinkled suit, messy hair. "Emma, baby, I'm so sorry," he said. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. Don't call me that, I whispered. We can work through this, he said desperately. But we need to talk about the investment. The app launches next month. We can't let this personal issue affect our business. There it was. The real reason he came. Not because he loved me, but because he worried about his money. A cold anger washed over me. She needs time, Faith said, stepping forward protectively. David looked frustrated. Fine. But we need to resolve this soon. $50,000 isn't small change. He left, slamming the door. You see, Faith said softly. It was never about you. Always about the money. I didn't answer. I walked to my room and closed the door. In the darkness, a new thought formed. Maybe Faith was right. Maybe in this city, survival mattered more than anything else.
If this story is touching your heart, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Your support helps these stories reach others who need to hear them. Thank you for being part of this community. Now let's continue.
The weeks after David's betrayal were like living in a gray fog. I moved through my apartment like a ghost, unable to eat or sleep. The app that once filled me with passion now felt like a monument to my foolishness. Faith was always there, making me tea, sitting with me, listening to me cry. But woven into her comfort was a constant theme. David's money. You can't let him win, she'd say. Use that money to build your future. A future without him. David wouldn't stop calling. His messages were a mix of desperate apologies and anxious questions. Emma, please, we need to talk. I miss you. Followed by, have you thought about the app? We have deadlines. Each message chipped away at my resolve. I began to see him not as the man I loved, but as someone who only cared about money. One afternoon, Faith sat beside me with a serious expression. Em, I need to tell you something. She began, wringing her hands. I'm in financial trouble. I borrowed money from a dangerous person, and now he's threatening me. Fear knotted my stomach. How much? Faith hesitated. A lot. More than I can handle. Her eyes pleaded. If you could just lend me part of David's money, I could pay this person off. Please, Em. I'm scared. The thought of my sister in danger terrified me. Despite her flaws, she was my twin. Who is this person? I asked. No police, Faith said quickly, panicking. That would make it worse. I just need your help. That evening, David showed up again, more demanding this time. Emma, we have to settle this, he said, arms crossed. My lawyer is asking questions. What are your intentions with my investment? I looked at his impatient face and something inside me snapped. I thought of Faith's frightened eyes, my broken heart, my shattered dreams. My intention, I said coldly, is to consider my options. You broke our engagement. As for the money, it was a business investment. You knew there were risks. David's jaw dropped. Are you saying you won't return my money? I'm saying I need time to think, I repeated, feeling a strange hollow power. This is theft, David sputtered, his face red with anger. Is it? I asked. Or is it the cost of breaking a heart? He stormed out, slamming the door. Faith rushed to me, beaming. You did it. I'm so proud of you. I didn't feel strong. I felt sick. But I had crossed the line and I couldn't go back. Okay, Faith, I whispered. I'll help you. With David gone, Faith's desperation grew. She made hushed phone calls in the other room. I transferred money to her account, hoping it would solve everything. One afternoon, Faith made a strange request. Em, I need to borrow your laptop. And can you send me that professional photo you took for the app proposal? Why? I asked, confused. I'm making a resume, Faith said smoothly. I want to use your photo as a template. It seemed odd, but I was too tired to question it. I sent the photo and lent her my laptop. What I didn't know was that Faith wasn't making a resume. Using my name, my photo, and my business plan, she was setting a trap for a wealthy investor named Julian. Posing as me online, Faith pitched my app to him. She claimed her camera was broken, so they only did audio calls. Julian was impressed. The idea was solid, the returns looked astronomical. I'm in, Julian said. I'll transfer $75,000 to get started. Faith created a new bank account under a slightly altered version of my name and sent him the details. Within an hour, her phone buzzed. $75,000. For a moment she felt powerful. She could pay her debts, buy anything, live the life she'd always wanted. A flicker of guilt touched her conscience. She thought of me, sleeping in the next room, sad and trusting. But faith pushed the feeling away. I was too soft for this world, she told herself. She packed a suitcase and scribbled a hasty note. I'm sorry, Em. I'll explain someday. I promise I'll make it right. Then she disappeared. The next morning, I woke to an empty apartment. I found Faith's note and cold dread filled me. Where had she gone? What had she done? My fears were confirmed that afternoon when someone knocked loudly on my door. I opened it to find a tall, imposing man in a tailored suit. His face was hard and angry, his dark eyes scanning me from head to toe. Are you Emma? He asked, his voice low and dangerous. Yes, I said, trembling. Can I help you? He held up his phone, showing a screenshot of my professional photo and business proposal with my name on it. You can start by explaining this, he said icily, and then tell me where my $75,000 is. I stared at the phone, my blood turning to ice. The photo, the proposal, it all clicked. Faith had used my identity to commit fraud. I don't understand, I stammered. Oh, I think you do, he said, stepping closer. My name is Julian and you're a thief. Give me my money back right now or I'll call the police. Your choice. I looked into his furious eyes and my world tilted. My sister was gone, my fiancé was gone, and now this dangerous stranger was accusing me of a crime I didn't commit. I was trapped with nowhere to run. The air in my small living room was thick with tension. Julian stood like a statue carved from anger, waiting for an answer. I don't have the money, I whispered, shaking. Julian laughed harshly. Of course you don't. You probably spent it already. I should have known better. He pulled out his phone, thumb hovering over the call button. Last chance. The money or the police. Desperation clawed at me. I had to say something to stop him. I thought about my skills, the only things I truly owned. I was hardworking, organized, resourceful. Wait, I said, my voice stronger. Please. I can't give you the money now, but I can work to pay it back. I'll do anything. Julian paused, eyebrow raised in surprise. He saw not a criminal, but a terrified young woman. Work for me, he asked, amused. Doing what? Anything, I said. I can clean, cook, organize. I'll work for you until every penny is paid off. It was crazy desperate, but it was also a way to take responsibility, to buy time, to protect my sister, and to keep my dignity. Julian studied my face. Something didn't add up. She seemed genuinely desperate, not deceitful. But $75,000 wasn't something he could just forget. You're serious? He asked, his tone less harsh. Yes, I said, nodding eagerly. I give you my word. I won't run. I'll work honestly until the debt is cleared. He considered it. Having me work for him would keep me under watch. It would be a lesson, a way to reclaim what was his through labor instead of cash. Fine, he said finally, cold and businesslike. But there are conditions. You'll move into my house today. You'll be my live-in housekeeper. You'll clean, do laundry, cook my meals. Your salary goes toward the debt. You don't leave without my permission. Understand? The terms were harsh, like a prison sentence. But it was better than real prison. I understand, I said quietly. Good. Pack a bag. We're leaving now. My heart sank. I had no time to process. I went to my bedroom and looked around at my sanctuary. I grabbed a few clothes and threw them in a bag. As I walked out, I took one last look at my apartment, the only home I'd ever known. Now I was leaving it to become a servant in a stranger's house. The drive to Julian's home in the Hamptons was silent. I stared at sprawling mansions behind high gates, perfectly manicured lawns, luxury cars. It was a world away from my life. Julian's house was the largest, a stunning modern structure of glass and white stone, surrounded by gardens. He led me through the massive front door into a cavernous living room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a pool. Your room is in the back with the staff quarters, Julian said emotionlessly. Mrs. Peterson, my head of staff, will show you your duties tomorrow. For now, stay in your room. The property is monitored. He walked away, leaving me alone in the vast, silent room. I felt small and broken. I clutched my bag and walked slowly toward my new life as a prisoner. The room was small and sparse. A narrow bed, a wardrobe, one window looking at a wall. Felt like a cell. I sat on the bed, reality crashing down. I was a housekeeper, a servant, paying for a crime I didn't commit. Tears welled up, but I refused to let them fall. Crying wouldn't change anything. The next morning, a stern older woman knocked on my door. She introduced herself as Mrs. Peterson and handed me a uniform and a long list of duties. "Mr. Julian is very particular," she said crisply. "Everything must be spotless. His meals must be on time. No excuses." The first days were exhausting. I cleaned from morning until night, scrubbing floors, polishing furniture, washing endless laundry. My hands became red and raw. My body ached everywhere. Julian was distant and cold. He'd leave early and return late, barely acknowledging me. He ate my meals in silence. His indifference was almost worse than anger. It made me feel invisible. My only comfort came late at night when the house was quiet. I'd take out my laptop and work on my app. I refined the code, redesigned the interface. The app was my creation, my dream. Working on it made me feel like myself again. It was my secret defiance, my way of holding on to my identity. One evening, the front door burst open. A stunning woman with flowing hair and a sparkling dress swept in. She threw her arms around Julian's neck and kissed him dramatically. "Darling, you're home," she exclaimed. "This must be Vanessa," the girlfriend Mrs. Peterson mentioned. Vanessa's eyes landed on me, dusting a bookshelf in the corner. Her smile tightened. "And who is this?" she asked, warmth leaving her voice. "The new housekeeper," Julian said neutrally. "Emma, this is Vanessa." I nodded politely. "Good evening, ma'am." Vanessa looked me up and down critically. "You look young for a housekeeper. I hope you know how to clean properly." Her condescending tone made my cheeks burn. From that moment, Vanessa became another source of misery. She followed me around, criticizing everything. She'd spill things on purpose and call me to clean them, a smug smile on her face. She made it clear she saw me as nothing but an insect to crush. I did my best to ignore her, making myself small, moving like a shadow. One afternoon, Vanessa was by the pool while I cleaned the glass doors. Julian was in his home office nearby. "You girl," Vanessa called, snapping her fingers. "Bring me fresh juice. Not that bottled garbage." I prepared the juice. As I walked back, I overheard Vanessa talking to Julian. "Are you sure it's wise to have her here?" Vanessa whispered. "She seems off. A woman who'd steal $75,000. What's stopping her from stealing here? Your watches, your art? Hand her to the police." My heart stopped. Vanessa was actively trying to turn Julian against me. I took a breath and walked out calmly, placing the juice on the table. "Thank you, ma'am," I said evenly. Vanessa gave me a sharp, suspicious look. I walked back inside, heart pounding. This wasn't just about paying a debt anymore. This was about survival. I was living with a man who thought I was a criminal and a woman who wanted me destroyed. Life settled into a tense routine. I worked tirelessly, enduring Vanessa's cruelty. But at night I built my app, my secret weapon, the key that might unlock my cage. One evening, Julian hosted a business dinner. I'd spent all day preparing an elaborate meal, my mother's famous pot roast recipe. As I served the guests, Vanessa, playing perfect hostess, accidentally bumped into me. A bowl of hot gravy tipped over, spilling onto important-looking documents on a side table. "Oh, you clumsy girl," Vanessa cried. "Look what you've done. Those are Julian's contracts." Everyone went silent. Julian rushed over, looking at the stained papers. "I'm so sorry, sir," I stammered, reaching for a napkin. "You've ruined everything," Vanessa said dramatically. Julian looked from the documents to my terrified face to Vanessa. He'd seen how Vanessa moved, the subtle, deliberate bump. He saw the triumph in her eyes before she masked it. For the first time, doubt entered his mind. "It's all right," he said tightly. He turned to his guests. "Excuse us." He led me to the kitchen. "Clean this up," he said, his voice low but without the fury I'd expected. Later, after the guests left and Vanessa had been sent home, Julian came into the kitchen where I was washing dishes. "Those documents were just drafts," he said quietly. "No real harm done." I looked up surprised. I'm still very sorry, sir. He nodded, leaning against the counter. The pot roast was excellent. My guests were impressed. It was the first compliment he'd ever given me. A small warm feeling spread through my chest. Thank you, sir. It's my mother's recipe. They stood in silence. Tell me about your app, he said suddenly. My head snapped up, eyes wide with shock. The app you scammed me with, he continued. Despite everything, the idea was brilliant. The financial models were some of the best I've seen. Who helped you? No one, I whispered. I did it myself. Julian looked genuinely surprised. You did all that yourself? I nodded. It's my passion. He looked at me with new respect, curiosity beyond my role as housekeeper or criminal. He saw the spark of the intelligent, ambitious woman my sister had pretended to be. Why would someone with your talent resort to fraud? He asked softly, genuinely curious. My heart ached with the urge to tell him the truth, about faith, about everything. But I couldn't. The loyalty to my twin was too deep. I was desperate, I said, lowering my eyes. Julian didn't press. He just nodded slowly. From that night on, something shifted. The cold indifference was replaced by quiet awareness. He started talking to me more, asking about my day, commenting on my cooking. He'd sometimes find me working on my laptop late at night, and instead of reprimanding me, he'd ask technical questions. Their conversations were brief and professional, but they were a lifeline. Small cracks of light in my darkness. I started seeing the man behind the anger, intelligent, driven, perhaps even kind. Vanessa noticed immediately, and it made her more vicious. She could feel Julian slipping away, his attention shifting to me. Her jealousy festered into obsession. She knew she had to do something drastic to remove me from his life. One afternoon while Julian was out, Vanessa let herself in with her key. She went straight to Julian's bedroom. On his nightstand was his favorite watch. A gift from his father, expensive and sentimental. Vanessa picked up the watch, a wicked smile on her lips. She tiptoed to my room and tucked it deep in my wardrobe, hidden beneath my clothes. Then she went to the living room and waited, heart beating with nervous triumph. When Julian returned home later, he was in a good mood. He walked to his bedroom to change, then frowned. Have you seen my watch? He called out. Vanessa walked to his door, face full of false concern. Which watch, darling? The one my father gave me, he said, frustrated, searching again. It was right here. That's strange, Vanessa said innocently. She paused. Darling, you don't think the housekeeper? Julian's face darkened. He remembered Vanessa's earlier warnings. He'd started to believe I was different, just a victim. But now the watch was missing. Doubt flooded back. No, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Are you sure? Vanessa pressed. Maybe we should check her room. Just to clear her name, of course. Julian hesitated. It felt wrong to invade my privacy. But the watch was his most prized possession. Fine, he said grimly. Let's check. They walked to my room. I was in the kitchen preparing dinner, unaware. Julian pushed open my door. Vanessa went straight to the wardrobe. She rummaged through my things, then gasped dramatically. Oh, Julian, she said, voice trembling. I can't believe it. She pulled out the watch. Julian stared at it, and his heart turned to stone. He felt like a fool. He'd been wrong about me. She was a thief, just as he'd first suspected. The anger was sharp and bitter, mixed with deep disappointment. He stormed into the kitchen. I looked up with a tentative smile. The smile vanished when I saw his eyes. What is this? He asked dangerously, holding up the watch. I stared at it, mind blank with confusion. That's your watch, sir. I know it's my watch, he snarled. What's it doing in your room? Hidden in your wardrobe? My blood ran cold. My room? But I don't know. I've never seen it there. I would never. Save your lies. Julian cut me off, voice filled with contempt. I should have trusted my instincts. I gave you a chance. I treated you with kindness. This is how you repay me. By stealing. Vanessa appeared in the doorway, arms wrapped around herself, looking frightened. I looked from Julian's furious face to Vanessa's triumphant one, and I finally understood. I'd been framed. I didn't take it, I said, voice shaking but firm. She's lying. She put it there. Julian laughed bitterly. Of course. Blame the innocent girlfriend. You're exactly what I thought, a common thief. The words hit me like a blow. Tears stung my eyes. Pack your things, Julian said coldly. You can stay tonight, but first thing tomorrow, I'm taking you to the police. Our deal is over. He walked out, leaving me standing there. The hope that had begun to bloom was brutally crushed. I was alone, facing prison, all because of a woman's cruel jealousy and a man's broken trust. The weight of Julian's accusation crushed me. I retreated to my room and sat on the bed, staring at the wall. How had my life come to this? I had no one to call, no one to help. For the first time I felt true anger toward Faith. It was her greed that had put me here. And yet, the instinct to protect my family held me back from screaming the truth. With a heavy sigh, I pulled out my bag and began to pack. There wasn't much. A few clothes, my laptop, a worn photograph of my parents. As I reached for the photo, my fingers brushed against paper tucked in the frame. I pulled it out, frowning. It was a letter folded neatly. The handwriting was Faith's. With trembling hands, I unfolded it. My dearest Emma, it began. If you're reading this, I'm gone and you're probably in trouble because of me. I'm so sorry. I was in debt, deep scary debt. I saw a way out. I used you. I used your name, your photo, your app. I scammed Julian and ran. I know it's cowardly. I promise I'll pay you back someday. Please don't hate me. You've always been the strong one. I know you'll find a way through this. Yours always, Faith. I read it twice, tears blurring the words. It was a confession. Proof. But also confirmation of the depth of my sister's betrayal. Faith had known she was leaving me to face fury, and she'd run anyway. The tears that fell were of sadness and bitter, wrenching anger. I clutched the letter. It could save me from prison, but it would mean condemning my own sister. Meanwhile, in the main house, Julian paced, whiskey in hand. He was furious, but a small voice in his mind wouldn't be quiet. He thought of my face when he'd confronted me. The shock, the confusion, the hurt. It hadn't looked like guilt. His phone buzzed. It was Travis, his head of security. Sir, you need to see this. Check camera 7 from this afternoon around 3 p.m. Frowning, Julian pulled up the security feed on his tablet. He rewound to the time Travis indicated. His eyes widened in disbelief as the footage showed Vanessa looking over her shoulder, slipping into my room. Moments later, she emerged with a satisfied smirk. Hours later, the footage showed him and Vanessa going in, and Vanessa discovering the watch. The truth hit him like a physical blow. He'd been played. Vanessa had lied and orchestrated everything to frame an innocent woman. He felt a surge of self-loathing. He'd been so quick to believe the worst, so ready to condemn based on circumstantial evidence. He'd threatened me, insulted me, was about to hand me to police. Shame and regret washed over him. He had to make this right. He put down his glass and strode down the hallway, heart pounding. He had to stop me. He had to apologize. He reached my door and pushed it open without knocking. I was standing by the bed, bag packed, the letter from Faith clutched in my hand. My face was pale but resolute, eyes red-rimmed but defiant. I looked up as he entered. For a moment we just stared at each other. Emma, he began, voice rough with emotion. He didn't know what to say. I'm sorry, felt inadequate. He'd wronged me in the worst way. The silence was thick. Julian stood there, the tablet with security footage still in his hand. I watched him guard it, face confession a crumpled ball in my fist. I saw the footage, Julian said finally, voice low. I know you didn't take the watch. Vanessa set you up. A single tear escaped my eye. He believed me. After all the accusations, he finally believed me. I am so sorry, Emma, he said, stepping into the room. His voice filled with genuine remorse. I was a fool. I should have trusted you. Can you ever forgive me? I didn't answer immediately. I was too overwhelmed. I simply unfolded the crumpled letter and held it out to him. Julian took it. Continue. 1:06 a.m. Frowning. He read the letter, his expression shifting from shame to shock to understanding. He looked up at me, eyes filled with awe and disbelief. This whole time, he began, voice trailing off, you weren't the one who scammed me. It was your sister. And you've been taking the blame working here, letting me treat you like a criminal, all to protect her. I just nodded, unable to speak. The full weight of his misjudgment crashed down on him. This woman, whom he'd treated with disdain, possessed a strength and loyalty he'd never encountered. She'd endured humiliation and false accusations to shield the very person who'd put her there. Emma, I don't know what to say, he said. I've been unbelievably cruel. Before he could continue, his phone rang. It was security. Sir, there's a Miss Vanessa here. Julian's face hardened. Let her in. He turned to me. Stay here. I need to handle this. I watched him leave, heart a confusing mix of relief, sadness, and something else, something unfamiliar. Julian met Vanessa in the living room. She ran to him, face full of concern. Darling, did you take her to the police? Oh, it's over, Vanessa, Julian said calmly. He held up his tablet and played the security footage. Vanessa's face went from concern to pale with horror as she watched herself sneak into my room. Julian, I can explain, she stammered. There's nothing to explain, he said, voice cutting like a blade. I saw what you did. You framed an innocent woman because you were jealous. Get your things and get out. We're done. But Julian, I did it for us, she cried. She was coming between us. Love? You don't know the meaning of the word, he said with disgust. What you did was cruel and pathetic. Leave before I show this to the police. Vanessa stared at him, face crumbling. With a sob, she grabbed her bag and ran out. Julian stood there, anger draining, leaving hollow emptiness. He'd been so blind, so easily manipulated. He went back to my room. I was sitting on my bed, bag still packed. She's gone, he said simply. I nodded. I'm sorry it had to end like that. Don't be, he said. I'm the one who should be sorry for everything. He sat on the small chair opposite my bed. The deal's off. You're free to go. In fact, I owe you. Not just an apology, but payment for your work. And compensation for this whole mess. He looked so genuinely remorseful that my anger began to melt, replaced by weary empathy. And about the app, he continued, looking at the letter. The idea is still brilliant. If you're still interested in launching it, I'd be honored to invest. Legitimately this time. As a partner. I was stunned. After everything, he was still offering to help me achieve my dream. Before I could respond, security buzzed again. Sir, there's a Mr. David here. Says he needs to see Miss Emma urgently. My heart clenched. David. I'd almost forgotten about him. Julian looked at me questioningly. He had no right to decide for me. Do you want to see him? I took a deep breath. I was tired of running. It was time to face everything. Yes, I said, voice surprisingly steady. Let him in. Julian nodded, respect in his eyes. He understood this was a battle I had to fight alone. David walked into the living room, confidence a stark contrast to his last desperate visit. He'd clearly come prepared for a fight. When he saw me, his expression softened into practiced remorse. He ignored Julian completely. Emma, David began, voice smooth. I'm so glad I found you. I was wrong to pressure you. Can we please talk? He tried to take my hand, but I stepped back. The Emma standing before him now wasn't the tearful, broken woman he'd left behind. My ordeal had forged new strength. There's nothing to talk about, David, I said, voice calm and clear. You showed me who you are. I believe you. David's smile faltered. Come on, baby. Don't be like that. What we had was special. You can't throw it away because of one mistake. It wasn't a mistake, David. It was a choice, I said, eyes meeting his without flinching. And when I needed you to be sorry for hurting me, you were only sorry about your money. That told me everything. The finality in my voice seemed to reach him. His expression hardened. So this is about the money, he said bitterly. No, David, I said, shaking my head. This is about me finally respecting myself. But since you're concerned about your investment, let me put your mind at ease. Julian stepped forward. Mr. David, I presume, he said politely but firmly. I'm Julian. I believe we have a mutual business interest in Ms. Emma's application. David looked from Julian to me, confusion and suspicion dawning. Who are you? What's going on? Let's just say I'm Emma's new business partner, Julian said smoothly. I've reviewed her work, and I'm very impressed. I'll be funding the full launch of the app. He turned to me, eyes soft. As for your initial investment, David, I said, taking my cue, you'll be repaid in full with interest from the first round of profits after launch. You have my word. I was no longer the victim. I was a businesswoman, confident and in control. I was severing the last tie, not out of revenge, but out of a clean, decisive need to move on. David was stunned. He'd expected a fight, tears. He wasn't prepared for this calm, professional dismissal. He looked at me, standing tall, and at the wealthy man by my side, and he knew he'd lost me completely. Fine, he mumbled, defeated. I'll expect my money. He turned and walked out, shoulders slumped. The moment the door closed, I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. It was finally truly over. Relief washed over me. Are you all right? Julian asked gently. I looked at him and smiled. A real genuine smile for the first time in weeks. I am now, I said. Good, he said, his own smile mirroring mine. He hesitated, the atmosphere shifting from professional to deeply personal. Emma, he said, voice softer now. I know the timing is terrible, and you've been through so much, but I meant what I said. I want you to stay, not as my housekeeper. I want you as my partner in business, and if you'll have me, in everything else. His words hung in the air. A beautiful, terrifying promise. My heart fluttered. I looked at this man who'd gone from my accuser to my champion. I saw sincerity in his eyes, genuine care. It was a second chance at love. But I also remembered the pain of my last relationship, the sting of betrayal. I just found my own strength, my independence. Was I ready to risk my heart again so soon? Julian, I began, voice trembling. I can't. Not yet. The light in his eyes dimmed slightly, but he nodded in understanding. I get it. It's too soon. I shouldn't have pushed. It's not that I don't want to, I said quickly. It's just, I've just gotten myself back. I trusted David completely, and he broke that trust. I'm not sure I know how to trust like that again. Not yet. I looked around the vast house. And I can't stay here. Not like this. Every time I walk through these rooms, I'll remember being the housekeeper, the accused thief. I need to stand on my own feet. I need to be my own person, not just someone living in your house. It was the most honest I'd been in a long time. The words felt liberating. I was no longer just reacting, I was defining my own life. Julian listened intently, and a slow, respectful smile spread across his face. He wasn't disappointed. He was impressed. He was seeing the full measure of my strength, the depth of my character. I wasn't looking for a rich man to save me. I was looking to save myself. You're right, he said, voice full of admiration. Of course you're right. I was thinking like a man who wants to fix everything. But you don't need fixing. You just need a partner who believes in you. He paused, a new idea forming. Okay, he said. New plan. We start as business partners, strictly professional. I'll provide funding for your app. Consider the first payment in advance, not a gift. And you should get your own place nearby so we can work together easily. A place that's yours. My eyes lit up. Independence. A space of my own earned through my own talent. It was everything I wanted. Really? I asked. Absolutely, he said. We'll find you a great apartment, and we'll make your app the biggest success story New York has ever seen. He smiled warmly. As for the other stuff, the everything else, we can take that as slow as you want. We can start with coffee, maybe dinner. No pressure. Just two partners getting to know each other. A heartfelt smile broke across my face. This was different. This wasn't a whirlwind romance built on false promises. This was a partnership built on mutual respect. It felt solid. Felt right. I'd like that, Julian, I said. I'd like that very much. 6 months passed like a dream. With Julian's help, I found a beautiful small apartment in Brooklyn with a balcony overlooking a canopy of trees. It wasn't as grand as Julian's mansion, but it was mine. I used the advance to furnish it simply, creating a true sanctuary. We threw ourselves into work on the app. We spent hours brainstorming, refining, planning. My passion reignited, stronger than ever. Julian was brilliant, and his insights challenged me and made my work even better. Their professional partnership was seamless, a perfect blend of my creative vision and his business acumen. And true to his word, he took things slow. Coffee in the mornings before work sessions. Dinner in the evenings, sometimes at his house, sometimes at a quiet local restaurant. We talked for hours, not just about business but about our lives, dreams, fears. I learned about Julian's childhood, his struggles to build his company from nothing, his passion for finding new ideas. He learned about my love for coding, my relationship with my parents, the complex bond one shared with faith. I found myself laughing more than I had in months. I felt a lightness I thought was lost forever. With each passing day, the wall around my heart began to crumble, brick by brick. I was starting to see a future I'd never dared imagine. A future filled with both professional success and personal happiness. My app, which we named Budgetwise, launched with incredible success. Julian's business acumen and my innovative design were a powerful combination. It was featured on tech blogs and business magazines, praised for its user-friendly interface and practical approach. The profits began rolling in, far exceeding our most optimistic projections. True to my word, the first major withdrawal I made was to repay David. I transferred the $50,000 to his account with a simple professional email, closing that chapter for good. I was no longer a housekeeper or an accused thief. I was a CEO, the head of my own growing company. Faith, too, was on a new path. She was working steadily as a sales assistant. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. Every month, without fail, part of her salary was deducted toward her repayment plan. We spoke regularly, our conversations still fragile but healing with time. Trust was slowly being rebuilt, one honest conversation at a time. Julian was a constant, steady presence. Their business partnership had blossomed into a deep, loving relationship. He was my biggest cheerleader, my most trusted advisor, my best friend. One beautiful Saturday morning, I was standing on my balcony, coffee in hand, watching boats glide across the calm water. The sun was just beginning to rise, painting the sky in soft pink and orange. I heard the sliding door open. Julian came out, wrapping his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. "Good morning, CEO," he murmured warmly. I leaned back against him, a contented smile on my face. "Good morning, Mr. Investor." We stood in comfortable silence, watching the sunrise. The city below was slowly coming to life. "Do you ever think about it?" I asked softly. "How we met? How crazy it all was." Julian chuckled. "I try not to think about the part where I was a complete idiot who accused you of being a thief." I turned in his arms to face him. "But if none of that had happened," I said, eyes serious, "we never would have met. Maybe it was all part of the plan." "If this was the plan," he said, gaze tender, "then I'm grateful for every stupid, painful moment, because it led me to you." He looked at me, the intelligent, resilient, kind woman he'd fallen in love with. She was more beautiful to him now than ever, not because of looks, but because of the strength and grace she carried. "I love you, Emma," he said, the words simple and true. "I love you too, Julian," I replied, heartful. He leaned in and kissed me. A slow, sweet kiss that tasted of coffee and new beginnings. The sun broke fully over the horizon, flooding the balcony with brilliant golden light. I looked out at the water, at the sprawling city I called home. My life had been a chaotic journey of heartbreak and betrayal, of loss and unexpected second chances. But standing here now, wrapped in the arms of a man who truly saw me, who loved me from my mind and my heart, I knew I was finally where I belonged. I had faced my past, found my strength, and built a future I could be proud of. The storm was over, and a new day, bright with promise, had begun.
Thank you so much for watching this emotional journey with us. If this story moved you, please subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear how this story resonated with you. Don't forget to like and share so others can experience this powerful tale of betrayal, redemption, and second chances. See you in the next story.